The bridge of the U.S. Defiant hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-trained crew. Commander Sarah Chin stood at the tactical display, her dark eyes scanning the holographic star map that filled the center of the command deck. Behind her, the massive viewing window showed the glittering expanse of the Perseus arm, tens of thousands of stars reflecting off the reinforced transparent steel. "Commander," Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez called from her communications station, her voice cutting through the ambient noise. "We're picking up something strange on the quantum bands." Chin turned, one eyebrow raised. The quantum bands were reserved for absolute emergencies. Using them for routine communication could tear holes in space-time itself. Source? That's the strange part. Rodriguez frowned, her fingers dancing across her haptic interface. It's coming from the royal vessel Eternal Dawn. But the signals, wrong somehow. The entire bridge crew stiffened. The Eternal Dawn was the personal ship of Queen Zaltareth, ruler of the Galactic Concordat. The massive crystalline vessel was supposed to be untouchable, protected by the most advanced technology in known space. Wrong how? Chin asked, already moving toward the communications station. The quantum signature is degrading. Like someone's trying to jam it. Rodriguez looked up, her expression grim. I've never seen anything like this. The Concordat's quantum tech is supposed to be unhackable. Chen's mind raced through the implications. The Eternal Dawn had been making a diplomatic tour of the outer systems, strengthening alliances in the wake of growing tensions with the Drachnid Empire. If something had happened to the Queen, "Play it," she ordered. The message crackled through the bridge speakers, distorted but understandable. "This is High Guardian Vex Thor of the Eternal Dawn. We are under attack by unknown forces. Our defense systems have been compromised." The Queen, static, overwhelmed the voice for a moment. "Require immediate assistance. Any allied vessels respond." Signals about 6 hours old, Rodriguez reported. "We're the closest ship to their last known coordinates." Chin straightened, her decision already made. "Navigator Wells, plot a course. Engineering, I want maximum power to the quantum drive." Commander, her XO, Marcus Bishop, stepped forward. His weathered face was creased with concern. "Protocol dictates we should contact Central Command before responding to a royal distress call. This could be above our pay grade. Time for a response from Command? Minimum 12 hours, given our position." Chen shook her head. "The Queen might not have 12 hours. And we took an oath to protect sentient life, regardless of rank or species." She turned to address the entire bridge. "I know we're just a patrol cruiser. We're not as big as a Concordat battleship or as advanced as a Royal Guard vessel. But right now, we're all that stands between Queen Zaltareth and whoever's trying to kill her." The bridge crew straightened in their seats. They'd all heard the stories about other species looking down on humans as primitive, impulsive, even foolish. But they'd also heard about human ships that had done the impossible because they refused to accept failure. Besides, Chin allowed herself a small smile. Someone needs to show the galaxy that humanity's primitive solutions still get the job done. Battle stations. Warning lights pulsed as the Defiant's quantum drive spooled up. Chin returned to the tactical display, studying the projected course to the Eternal Dawn's location. They were heading into unknown danger with limited intel and no backup. Typical human operation, as the other species would say. "Commander," Bishop said quietly, "the Drachnids have been pushing boundaries lately. If they're behind this, then we'll deal with it," Chin finished. Humanity didn't get to the stars by backing down from bullies, no matter how big they are. The quantum drive engaged with a deep thrum that vibrated through the hull. Outside, space itself seemed to bend as the Defiant accelerated to faster-than-light speeds. They were committed now. "Engineering reports all systems nominal," Rodriguez announced. "ETA to target coordinates, 2 hours, 14 minutes. Chin nodded, her mind already working through tactical scenarios. The Drachnids were formidable, but they relied heavily on predictable attack patterns and overwhelming force. If this was their work, human adaptability might be exactly what was needed. "Run battle drills," she ordered. "I want every department ready for anything when we arrive." "And Lieutenant Rodriguez? Keep scanning those quantum bands. If the attackers are trying to jam royal communications, they might leave traces we can track. As her crew carried out their orders with practiced efficiency, Chin studied the holographic image of the Eternal Dawn in the tactical display. The crystalline vessel was a masterpiece of alien engineering, said to be impregnable. But someone had found a way past its defenses. Well, she muttered to herself, time to show the galaxy why they should never underestimate human ingenuity. The Defiant streaked through quantum space, carrying its human crew toward what could be the most important rescue mission in galactic history. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and probably flying into a trap. But then again, humanity's greatest achievements had always started with someone doing something that everyone else thought was impossible. The Defiant dropped out of quantum space into a scene from humanity's worst nightmares. The Eternal Dawn hung suspended against the backdrop of a dying star, its crystalline hull crackling with alien energy. But it wasn't alone. Multiple hostile contacts. Lieutenant Rodriguez's fingers flew across her console. I count 17 Drachnid warships. Dreadnought class. Commander Chen's jaw tightened as she studied the tactical display. The Drachnid vessels formed a perfect containment pattern around the royal ship, their distinctive blade-shaped hulls gleaming with weapon ports. Each one was at least 3 times the size of the Defiant. Why haven't they destroyed the Eternal Dawn? Bishop asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Because they're not here to destroy it, Chin realized, watching energy patterns play across the royal vessel's hull. They're trying to capture it. With the Queen inside. The tactical implications were staggering. If the Drachnids captured Queen's Altereth, they could throw the entire Galactic Concordat into chaos. The resulting power vacuum could trigger an interstellar war that would make humanity's ancient world wars look like playground scuffles. Commander, Rodriguez called out, her voice tense. They're hailing us. On screen, the bridge's main display lit up with the image of a Drachnid commander. Like all his species, he resembled a cross between an earth mantis and a dragon, his chitinous armor gleaming with military decorations. Human vessel, the Drachnid's translator rendered his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. You have entered a restricted military operation zone. Retreat immediately or be destroyed. Chin stepped forward, her voice steady. This is Commander Sarah Chun of the U.S. Defiant. You are conducting an illegal operation against the sovereign ruler of the Galactic Concordat. Stand down and prepare to be boarded. Laughter, harsh and alien, echoed through the bridge speakers. Brave words from a primitive species in an obsolete ship. Do you truly think you can challenge 17 Drachnid dreadnoughts? Actually, Chin allowed herself a small smile. I'm counting on it. Now, Maya. Lieutenant Rodriguez's hands blurred across her console. The Defiant's communications array, modified with technology that would have been considered heretical by most alien engineers, fired a concentrated burst of quantum static directly at the Eternal Dawn. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystalline ship's hull flared with brilliant light. It worked! Rodriguez exclaimed. The quantum harmonics disrupted their containment field. The Drachnid commander's mantis-like face contorted with rage. Impossible! Our quantum locks are based on mathematical principles your species shouldn't even be able to comprehend. That's your problem, Chin replied. You think everything has to be understood to be used. We humans have a long history of using things we don't fully understand. We call it intuition. She turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant Wells, fire pattern Sierra 9. Let's show them another human tradition, causing chaos. The Defiant's weapons might have been considered outdated by Concordat standards, but they had been extensively modified by human engineers who believed that impossible was just another word for hasn't been done yet. Plasma beams lanced out, not at the Drachnid ships themselves, but at carefully calculated points in space between them. The result was spectacular. The plasma interacted with the quantum containment field's residual energy, creating cascading disruptions that forced the Drachnid ships to break formation or risk their own shields collapsing. Multiple targets taking evasive action, Wells reported, grinning. Their formation is breaking up. But the Drachnids hadn't become one of the most feared military powers in the galaxy by being easily surprised. Their ships were already regrouping, bringing weapons to bear on the impudent human vessel that had dared to interfere. Incoming fire, Bishop warned. Multiple vectors. The Defiant twisted through space, its human pilots relying on instinct and experience as much as their instruments. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled the void, most missing by kilometers, some passing close enough to make the shields flare. Engineering reports shield strength at 60% and falling, Rodriguez called out. We can't take much more of this. Chin watched as the tactical display updated, showing the Drachnid ships moving to surround them. The Eternal Dawn was beginning to move, its engines finally free of the containment field, but it was damaged and slow. We don't need to win, Chin reminded her crew. We just need to buy time. She opened a channel to the royal vessel. Your Majesty, if you can hear us, set course for the Stellar Remnant. We'll cover your retreat. Commander, Bishop's voice was tight with concern. If we get between those dreadnoughts and their target, then we'll do what humans have always done, Chin finished. The impossible. She turned to her helm officer. Attack pattern Omega. Take us right down their throat. The Defiant accelerated, diving straight toward the center of the Drachnid formation. It was exactly the kind of maneuver that alien tactical computers would dismiss as suicidal, which made it perfectly human. They're targeting our engines, Wells reported. Trying to disable us. Let them try. Chen's eyes were fixed on the tactical display, watching energy patterns shift and flow. Maya, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies. It's time for humanity's secret weapon. Which is? Bishop asked. Chen's smile was fierce. Creativity. The battle was far from over, but as the Defiant charged into the heart of the enemy fleet, its human crew demonstrated why their species had survived countless catastrophes on their homeworld. Sometimes, the most effective response to overwhelming odds wasn't superior technology or perfect logic. Sometimes, it was simply the human refusal to accept defeat, combined with the uniquely human ability to turn apparent weakness into unexpected strength. The Drachnids were about to learn why underestimating humanity was always a fatal mistake. Deep in the engineering section of the Defiant, Chief Engineer Priya Patel worked miracles with technology that most alien species considered obsolete. Her hands moved with practiced precision as she rerouted power through systems that were never meant to work together. You're insane, the crystalline face on her view screen stated flatly. The speaker was First Engineer Valor of the Eternal Dawn, his geometric features arranged in what Priya had learned to recognize as an expression of disbelief. The quantum harmonics alone would tear your ship apart. Only if you follow the standard equations, Priya replied, not looking up from her work. Sparks flew from an overloaded circuit, and she calmly patted out a small fire on her sleeve. But who says we have to follow them? Above them, the battle raged. The Defiant danced through space, its movements defying the predictive algorithms of Drachnid targeting computers. Commander Chen's crazy plan was working, sort of. They'd managed to draw most of the enemy fire away from the Eternal Dawn, but their shields wouldn't hold forever. Your approach defies all known laws of quantum mechanics, Valor insisted. Known to who? Priya grinned as she connected another jury-rigged power coupling. Humans have a saying. The laws of physics are more like guidelines, really. She'd been working with Valor for the past 20 minutes, ever since Commander Chin had ordered them to find a way to get the royal vessel's main engines back online. The Drachnids had used some kind of quantum lock to disable them, but Priya had a theory about that. There. She stepped back, admiring her handiwork. The Defiant's engine core now looked like something out of a mad scientist's nightmare, with power conduits running in patterns that would give any alien engineer a headache. Ready to try something really stupid? Before Valor could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Priya grabbed a support beam to stay upright. Shields at 30%. Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. Chief, we need those modifications now. Just need to confirm one thing. Priya turned back to Valor. Your quantum cores, they're based on crystalline matrix technology, right? Like your hull? That is common knowledge, Valor replied. But I failed to see. And crystals respond to vibrations, Priya continued. Specific frequencies can change their structural properties. We learned that mining asteroids back home. She tapped a few commands into her console. What if we treated your quantum lock like a really complicated crystal? Understanding dawned in Valor's geometric features. You want to use sonic resonance to disrupt a quantum-level containment field? That's primitive? Foolish? Impossible? Priya suggested, already initiating the power sequence. Watch and learn. The Defiant's modified engines began to hum at a frequency just beyond human hearing. Priya had reconfigured them to generate precise vibrations that would be transmitted through space via carefully modulated shield harmonics. On the bridge, Commander Chin felt the deck plates vibrating under her feet. Status of the modification? Energy pattern is stable, Rodriguez reported. Transmitting to the Eternal Dawn now. Everyone watched as the resonance wave hit the royal vessel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the crystalline hull began to pulse with light. It's working! Priya's voice was triumphant. The quantum lock is destabilizing. Valor, start your engine sequence now. The Eternal Dawn's engines flared to life, their brilliant glow reflecting off the hulls of the surrounding Drachnid ships. The quantum lock that had held them immobile shattered like glass. Impossible! The Drachnid commander's face appeared on the main screen again, his alien features contorted with rage. You cannot break quantum containment with primitive vibrations. Actually, Chin replied, we just did. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our ability to think outside your carefully calculated box. She turned to her tactical officer. Target their flagship sensor array. Let's give them something new to calculate. The Defiant's weapons spoke again, this time with modified frequencies that played havoc with Drachnid shield harmonics. One shot slipped through, destroying the flagship's main sensor cluster in a burst of plasma. Commander, Bishop called out, the Eternal Dawn is signaling. The Queen wishes to speak with you. The image that appeared on the screen was unlike anything most of the crew had seen before. Queen Zeltareth was a being of living crystal, her form constantly shifting in patterns that seemed to defy three-dimensional space. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. Commander Chin, the Queen's translator, rendered her crystalline tones into standard galactic. Your species continues to surprise us. No other race would have attempted such an unconventional solution. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones nobody expects, Chun replied. Your Majesty, we need to get you out of here. The Drachnids are regrouping. Indeed. The Queen's form shifted, creating patterns that Priya would later swear were mathematically impossible. But perhaps first, we should show them why it is unwise to underestimate either humans or the Concordat. In engineering, Priya was already working on her next modification. If the Queen wanted to fight, they'd give her a fight to remember. After all, humans had turned being underestimated into an art form. And they were just getting started. Valor watched in fascination as his human counterpart began rerouting power in ways that violated at least 6 fundamental laws of physics. You truly believe you can modify our weapons systems the same way? Believe? Priya laughed, her hands dancing across her console. We're about to prove it. Now, let me teach you about something humans call improvisation. The battle was about to enter a new phase, one that would demonstrate why humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their numbers, but their unique ability to find solutions where other species saw only problems. The Drachnids were about to learn that lesson the hard way. The void between stars erupted in a symphony of destruction. 17 Drachnid dreadnoughts, each a masterpiece of military engineering, maneuvered in perfect formation around their targets. Their movements were precise, calculated, and absolutely textbook. That was exactly the problem. Pattern recognition analysis complete, announced Arya, the Defiance AI system. Unlike the rigid logical constructs used by other species, Arya had been designed to mimic human intuition. They're following standard Drachnid battle doctrine. Section 47, paragraph 13. Commander Chen smiled. They never could resist sticking to the rulebook. Maya, transmit the analysis to the Eternal Dawn. Let's show them why predictability can be a weakness. The combined human royal fleet had been engaged in a deadly dance for the past 20 minutes. The Defiant, despite its smaller size, kept drawing Drachnid fire with maneuvers that seemed random but were actually carefully calculated to appear random. Meanwhile, the Eternal Dawn's crystalline hull pulsed with new energy patterns, courtesy of Priya's unorthodox modifications. Your Majesty, Chin addressed the quantum-linked visualization of Queen's Altereth. Are your weapons systems ready for our little experiment? The Queen's crystalline form shifted in what Chin had learned to recognize as amusement. Engineer Patel's modifications are fascinating. My tactical officers are still trying to understand how they work. That's the beauty of it, Chen replied. They work precisely because no one understands exactly how they work. Sometimes the best strategy is to be unpredictable. In engineering, Priya and Valor had created something unprecedented, a hybrid weapon system that combined crystalline quantum technology with human-style improvisation. The result violated several laws of physics, but as Priya kept pointing out, physics had survived worse insults. Enemy fleet is initiating attack pattern Delta, Arya reported. Calculating probable vectors. Probable being the key word, Chin muttered. What happens when you introduce improbability into their perfect formations? Wells, execute maneuver Chaos 3. The Defiant suddenly broke from its evasive pattern, diving straight toward the nearest Drachnid dreadnought. To alien observers, it looked like suicide. To the human crew, it was Tuesday. They're adjusting formation, Bishop reported, watching the tactical display. Exactly as predicted. They can't help themselves. Their training demands they respond to direct threats in specific ways. The Drachnid ships moved to surround the Defiant, their formation shifting to account for the apparent suicide run. It was perfect, precise, and completely vulnerable to what came next. Now, Your Majesty, Chin called out. The Eternal Dawn's modified weapons fired. Instead of the usual quantum beams, they released waves of crystalline energy that resonated at frequencies Priya had calculated based on old Earth mining techniques. The effect on the Drachnid ships was devastating. Their shields, calibrated to stop normal energy weapons, couldn't handle the chaotic patterns. Where they expected clean quantum interactions, they got what Priya called quantum jazz, unpredictable fluctuations that played havoc with their carefully tuned systems. Direct hits on 3 dreadnoughts, Rodriguez reported, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. Their shield harmonics are completely disrupted. The Drachnid commander's face appeared on the main screen again, his alien features showing an emotion that needed no translation, disbelief. This is impossible, he raged. You're using mining frequencies as weapons? Your technological level shouldn't allow. That's your second mistake, Chin interrupted. Your first was attacking the Queen. Your second was assuming that technological advancement only moves in one direction. She turned to her tactical officer. Mr. Wells, show them why humans still teach hand-to-hand combat in an age of energy weapons. The Defiant's modified main gun fired. The shot wasn't particularly powerful by Drachnid standards, but it didn't need to be. It struck the flagship's already destabilized shields at exactly the right frequency, creating a cascade effect that rippled through their entire formation. Shield disruptions spreading through their fleet, Arya announced. Their quantum-linked defensive systems are actually amplifying the effect. How human. On the Eternal Dawn, Valor watched in amazement as the mighty Drachnid fleet began to lose cohesion. They're trying to remodulate their shields, he reported. But the frequency patterns are too chaotic. They can't predict where the next resonance will hit. That's because we're not using patterns, Priya replied, her hands dancing across her console as she made constant adjustments. We're using intuition. Every shot is different, every frequency unique. You can't defend against what you can't predict. The battle had shifted dramatically. The Drachnid fleet, designed to fight with mathematical precision against known threats, found itself facing an enemy that refused to follow the rules. Their perfect formations became a liability as the chaos spread through their linked systems. Multiple ships reporting critical system failures, Rodriguez announced. They're breaking formation. Chin watched as the mighty dreadnoughts began to retreat, their perfect coordination shattered by human unpredictability and royal technology working in ways their designers never intended. Your Majesty, she addressed the Queen, I suggest we press our advantage while they're still trying to understand what hit them. Queen Zaltaritha's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been approval. Indeed, Commander. Perhaps it is time to show the Drachnids why the Concordat chose to ally with humanity, despite your unconventional methods. The combined fleet moved forward, human ingenuity and alien precision working together in ways that defied conventional tactical doctrine. They weren't just winning a battle, they were rewriting the rules of space warfare. And somewhere in the chaos, a new understanding was being born. Sometimes the most effective force in the universe wasn't advanced technology or perfect logic. Sometimes it was simply the human ability to look at the impossible and say, watch this. As the Drachnid fleet scattered, Commander Chin noticed something odd about their retreat pattern. Despite the chaos, certain ships were moving with purpose, protecting specific vectors that made no tactical sense, unless they were hiding something. Arya, she called out, analyze those retreat vectors. Compare them to known Drachnid tactical doctrine. The AI's response was immediate. Pattern deviation detected. 6 vessels are maintaining formation around a spatial anomaly approximately 20,000 kilometers off our port bow. Commander, Queen Zaltaritha's crystalline voice carried new urgency. My sensors are detecting quantum signatures similar to those used in the initial attack on my vessel. The source appears to be behind those ships, Chin finished. They're protecting something. Or someone. She turned to her tactical officer. Wells, target that sector. Full spectrum scan. The results appeared on the main display, causing gasps from both human and alien crews. Hidden behind the retreating Drachnid vessels was another ship, one that shouldn't have existed. That's a Concordat stealth cruiser, Bishop breathed. Advanced prototype. Supposedly destroyed in testing 3 cycles ago. Supposedly, Chen's eyes narrowed. Your Majesty, I believe we've found our real mastermind. The Drachnids aren't working alone. The Queen's crystalline form shifted into patterns that radiated cold fury. Counselor Vexthor. My own Minister of Defense. The quantum signatures match his personal encryption codes. In engineering, Priya and Valor exchanged looks. The quantum lock that disabled your engines, Priya said slowly. It would have required intimate knowledge of your systems. Knowledge that only a high-ranking Concordat official would possess, Valor finished. We have been betrayed from within. The stealth cruiser, realizing it had been detected, suddenly burst into visible space. Its design was unlike anything in the known galaxy, a perfect fusion of Concordat crystalline technology and Drachnid military engineering. Impressive deduction, Commander Chin, a new voice filled the bridge, smooth and cultured. I must admit, when I arranged this little trap, I never expected humans to be the ones to unravel it. Counselor Vexthor, Chin replied coolly. Care to explain why a Concordat Minister of Defense is working with the Drachnids? Evolution, Commander. The Concordat has grown soft, accepting primitive species like yours into our midst. The Drachnids understand the need for strength, for purity. The Counselor's voice hardened. The Queen's policies of inclusion weaken us. After today's tragedy, the Concordat will have no choice but to adopt a more aggressive stance. There's just one problem with your plan, Chin smiled. It assumed we'd follow your rules. But humans have a habit of rewriting the rulebook. She turned to Rodriguez. Maya, remember that modification you made to our quantum communications array? The one that violated 7 different Concordat regulations? The probability inverter? Rodriguez grinned. The one you specifically ordered me not to tell the inspection team about? Exactly. Time to show the counselor why sometimes the best technology isn't the most advanced, it's the most unexpected. Chen opened a channel to the eternal dawn. Your Majesty, we're about to do something extremely human. I suggest you brace for improvisation. The Queen's response carried what might have been anticipation. Proceed, Commander. Show us what humanity does best. On the Defiance Bridge, Chin gave the order that would change the course of galactic history. Execute Operation Pandora. Rodriguez activated the modified communications array, sending out a pulse of quantum energy that made no sense by any known scientific standard. It was, as Priya had described it during testing, the communications equivalent of dividing by 0 while singing off-key. The effect on Vexthor's stealth cruiser was spectacular. Its advanced systems, designed to process pure, logical quantum signals, encountered something that defied logic itself. Alarms blared across both ships as reality seemed to hiccup. What have you done? Vexthor's voice shook with genuine fear. We introduced chaos into your perfect system, Chen replied. A quantum signal that breaks all the rules. Your advanced technology can't handle it because it doesn't make sense. But human technology, she smiled. We thrive on things that don't make sense. The stealth cruiser's cloaking system failed, then its weapons, then its engines. The quantum pulse had created a cascade of system failures that its designers had never imagined possible. Impossible, Vexthor whispered. Our technology is superior in every way. Superior technology doesn't always win battles, Chen countered. Sometimes victory goes to those willing to try the impossible. She turned to Wells. Target their engine core. Let's end this. The combined weapons of the Defiant and the Eternal Dawn struck as one. Human ingenuity and royal power merged in a display that would be studied in military academies for generations. As Vexthor's ship began to break apart, Chen opened a final channel. For the record, Counselor, this is why the Queen was right to trust primitive species. We see possibilities where you see only rules. The battle wasn't over, there were still Drachnid ships to deal with, and the political fallout would shake the Concordat to its foundations. But in that moment, as human determination and alien wisdom combined to defeat a threat no one could have faced alone, a new understanding was born. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't in having the most advanced technology or the most logical plans. Sometimes it's in having the courage to break all the rules and trust in chaos itself. The grand chamber of the Galactic Concordat sparkled with crystalline light, its vast dome reflecting the combined radiance of 1,000 worlds. At its center stood Commander Sarah Chen, her dress uniform adorned with both human and Concordat honors, facing the assembled representatives of every spacefaring species in known space. Queen Zeltaratha's form shimmered on her crystal throne, patterns of light dancing through her ever-shifting body in what Chen had learned to recognize as profound satisfaction. Beside the throne stood Chief Engineer Priya Patel and First Engineer Valor, an unlikely pair who had rewritten several laws of physics during their improvised collaboration. The evidence is irrefutable, the Queen's voice resonated through the chamber. Counselor Vexthor's conspiracy with the Drachnid Empire threatened not just my life, but the very foundation of our alliance. His belief that technological superiority equated to species superiority nearly plunged us into war. The chamber erupted in murmurs as quantum recordings played, showing the battle from multiple perspectives. The assembled diplomats watched in amazement as the human ship, considered primitive by most standards, combined its seemingly obsolete technology with royal engineering to achieve the impossible. But today, the Queen continued, we are here to recognize more than just a military victory. We are here to acknowledge a profound truth that many of us had forgotten. She turned her crystalline gaze to Chen. Commander, would you share with the Council what you told me during the battle? Chen stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. I said that technology isn't what defines advancement. It's the wisdom to know when to follow the rules and when to break them completely. From his containment cell, broadcast on the chamber's screens, Vexthor sneered. Primitive philosophy from a primitive species. Your victory was mere chance, a random. Random? Priya interrupted, stepping forward. Let me explain exactly how random our victory was. She gestured, and holographic diagrams appeared above the chamber floor. We combined human mining techniques with Concordat quantum mechanics, creating something entirely new. Not because we were more advanced, but because we weren't afraid to question basic assumptions. Valor joined her, his crystalline form resonating with excitement. The modifications Engineer Patel introduced to our systems weren't primitive, they were revolutionary. By ignoring what we thought was impossible, we discovered new laws of physics that our most advanced theories had overlooked. The chamber filled with excited discussion as Priya and Valor presented their findings. Their improvised modifications had led to breakthroughs in quantum engineering, shield harmonics, and even faster-than-light travel. By combining human intuition with alien precision, they had opened doors that neither civilization had known existed. This, Queen Zaltereth announced, is why diversity strengthens us. Not because one species is superior to another, but because each brings unique perspectives that others might never consider. She rose from her throne, her form expanding to fill the chamber with light. Therefore, I propose 2 major changes to Concordat law. The chamber fell silent, waiting. First, the classification system that ranks species by technological advancement is hereby abolished. We have seen how primitive innovation can surpass advanced stagnation. Cheers erupted from the human delegation, while more traditional members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Second, the Queen continued, I am creating a new division within our combined fleet. The Convergence Initiative will pair ships and crews from different species, encouraging the kind of innovative collaboration we witnessed aboard the Defiant and Eternal Dawn. Chin felt a surge of pride as she watched her crew members, scattered throughout the chamber, stand a little straighter. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology, but in their ability to inspire others to see beyond their limitations. Commander Chin, the Queen turned to her. Will you accept command of the first Convergence fleet? Chin smiled, thinking of all the possibilities ahead. On one condition, Your Majesty. That we maintain our right to be foolishly creative when the situation demands it. The Queen's form sparkled with what was definitely amusement. I would expect nothing less from humans. Your species' unique approach to problem-solving is exactly why you are perfect for this role. As the ceremony continued, Chin found herself standing with Priya near one of the chamber's vast windows, watching ships from 100 worlds moving through the eternal dance of orbital traffic. You know, Priya mused, Valor asked me yesterday if I could explain exactly how our quantum resonance modification worked. I told him sometimes it's better not to know all the answers. Oh! Chan raised an eyebrow. What did he say to that? He said that was the most human thing he'd ever heard, and he meant it as a compliment. They shared a laugh, watching as a newly commissioned convergence vessel took shape in the orbital shipyards, its design a beautiful fusion of human ingenuity and alien precision. The galaxy was changing, evolving into something new. And humanity, with all its beautiful imperfections and illogical inspirations, was helping to lead the way. Not because they were the most advanced, or the strongest, or the wisest, but because they had never stopped believing that impossible was just another word for hasn't been tried yet. In the vast chamber of the Concordat, as species that had once looked down on humanity now looked to them for guidance, a new age was beginning. An age where innovation wasn't measured by technological advancement alone, but by the courage to imagine something new. And somewhere in the quantum fabric of space-time, reality itself seemed to smile at the beautiful chaos of it all. The end was just another beginning. And this time, all species would face the future together.